Hey everybody, welcome. It's me, your friendly neighborhood science teacher. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably heard people talking about homeostasis and wondered, gee, what is that? Well, worry not, we're going to get to the bottom of that today by taking some notes and learning all about homeostasis and a couple of examples. Now, overall, what homeostasis means is to keep an internal balance. There are certain physiological conditions that have to keep a balance in your body, meaning they can't be too high or too low. Your body overall can keep an internal balance with certain things, but individual cells also can keep an internal balance. Cells keep an internal balance with fewer conditions. They mostly are regulating what comes in and out, whether that's oxygen, nutrients, waste, water, etc. Organisms need to track much more and keep track of many more conditions to ensure the proper functioning of the organism as a whole. All of these physiological conditions are really the conditions that let your enzymes perform at their best. Enzymes perform all of the chemical reactions in the body, within the cells and outside of the cells, that let the body survive. So if you do not have the conditions in your body for your enzymes to function, you're gonna have a bad day. The different physiological conditions could be things like the temperature of the body, the pH balance, whether it's too acidic or too basic, the amount of salts, etc. We'll look into that next. So here's a list of some of the things that your body needs to keep in balance. Each of these has a certain set point, a value where your body performs optimally. For instance, the set point for most people for temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, set points aren't exact numbers for each individual. They could be slightly different. And so some people have a temperature that is slightly higher and some that are slightly lower, but that is their set point. To maintain these set points, your body has to have a way to sense if you're getting away from that set point for that condition. You have to have a way to figure out what to do about it, and you have to have a way to get back to that set point. So in general, to keep your body at a set point for a certain condition, you need to have three parts to a homeostatic mechanism. Homeostatic mechanism meaning a way to keep your body at a set point for a certain condition. First, you need to have receptors that are sensitive to that stimulus. You have to have a control center that has the set point in mind and can control that, whether it gets too high or too low. And you have to have effectors, or things that can change that value for that physiological condition. The way that these work is called a negative feedback loop. And what that means is that the end product from the effectors turns off the stimulus that started the process. And so if the end product turns off the stimulus, then the entire thing kind of shuts off, and that's why it's a negative feedback loop. It turns itself off. Now, overall, if we just look at the top part of this is a negative feedback loop where you have a set point for a physiological condition. The stimulus is it getting too high for some reason. The parts of the body that work against it are here. So you have receptors that will sense that stimulus. You have the control center, which sends message to effectors that cause a response, bringing you back to the set point. Now, all of these physiological conditions could be too high or too low, and so a separate negative feedback loop is required if that stimulus gets too low, because you would have a different response to bring you up to the set point if that set point got too low. We'll look at an example to make this a little bit more concrete, so we stop talking just about set points and receptors and values in general. So here's a specific example about temperature. You have a set point, or on average we have a set point among people, that our internal temperature needs to be 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. As the temperature increases, that could be for a wide variety of things, whether it's too hot outside, or you've been exercising, or you might be sick, but in any case, the temperature increases. You have receptors for that. You have receptors throughout your body, and your skin especially, that can sense if it is too hot. They're called heat-sensitive thermoreceptors. Those thermoreceptors send a signal to a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus has many functions, one of which is to control temperature. If the hypothalamus receives signals that the body is too hot, it will send signals in return to parts of the skin to have the blood vessels near the surface of the skin dilate or open up, so more blood is going to the surface of the body and letting the heat escape. It also will send signals to the sweat glands and cause them to produce sweat or produce more sweat, again releasing heat, decreasing the temperature to the set point. Conversely, there is an action for when the temperature gets too low. If the temperature decreases in the body from the set point, then there are cold sensitive thermoreceptors. They still send signals to the hypothalamus, but in this case, the hypothalamus responds differently. The hypothalamus will send signals to muscles to contract rapidly to create friction. That's shivering. It will also send messages to the blood vessels in the skin, causing them to constrict and close up, keeping the blood closer to the middle of the body so that it doesn't lose heat as well. It will send signals to tiny muscles connected to hair shafts, which pull them up. Now that's normally going to fluff up an animal's fur to help it stay warm. It doesn't work as well in people anymore. And your body will also send signals to individual cells, causing them to make chemicals, but then break down those same chemicals over and over. And it takes energy to do that. It's called a futile cycle, that it will make up certain chemicals but break them down. And what that does is it has the chemical friction, the molecules moving, and it wastes energy, but that wasted energy is then turned into heat. And so the cells can help keep themselves warm by doing these chemical reactions that are futile cycles, where it builds something up and then breaks the same thing down over and over. So those are the two general ways that your body can maintain homeostasis for temperature, your set point of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, there are other examples of how your body maintains pH, how your body maintains sugar levels, salt levels, etc. And they all follow this same general pattern of a set point, receptors, control center, effectors. Just they look different and might be a little bit more complicated than the one here. Well, I hope you found that all interesting, easy to understand, clear, and informative. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them in class. You're going to be looking at other examples in class and even doing a lab where you measure some physiological conditions and try to figure out what is causing what. We're going to practice by getting ourselves and causing a stimulus that gets you out of your set point for a certain physiological condition and seeing how the body responds and how long it takes to respond. So again, I hope this was valuable to you. Thanks for attending my TED Talk.